What is up, everybody? Shane here again from the Twin Sons podcast, and I am beyond excited to bring you another video about Shurima, what's coming from Shurima. And today we got Nasus, and he has a lot of synergy with a lot of decks that are really close to my heart. So I'm extremely excited to jump right in, talk about these spoilers. Guys, if you aren't subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps us grow. Leave a like, leave a comment if you're enjoying these videos, and we'll keep making them. But without further ado, let's dive right in. We got Nasus today. He is a 6-drop 2/2, so obviously he's bad. That's a joke. Nasus is an Ascended, so this is our second Ascended unit. Renekton was the first. He is a 6-drop 2/2 with Fearsome. He has +1/+1 for each unit you've slain this game. He levels up when he strikes for 10 plus damage. So what is Slain? Slain is essentially either an enemy unit or an ally unit dying to a strike, to damage, or a direct kill effect. Okay, so if you Mystic Shot an enemy that is dealing damage with a spell, that will be considered slain. If my Nasus strikes into your spider, that spider will die. That will be considered a slain enemy. If I glimpse beyond my own ally, that is a slain unit. If I Chronicler of Ruin my own ally, that will be a slain unit. That's direct kill effects. My unit who is ephemeral, striking the opponent, that is not a kill effect. Ephemeral is triggering the kill condition there, so Ephemeral will get the kill, and I will not have slain my own Shark Chariot, per se. But there's still a lot of synergy there with the Shadow Isles cards, and also just striking things, single combat, killing other units that way. So that is what Slain will be. Very important for this reveal to understand what Slain actually is. So Nasus is a 2/2, which is obviously weak, but he gets +1/+1 for each unit you've slain this game. So he will get bigger and bigger in your deck, sort of like how They Who Endure works. Instead of units of yours that have died, Nasus gets +1/+1 for each unit that you have killed, your own or the enemy. So kind of like Nasus from League, he is building up. Once he levels, not only does he have Fearsome as still, but he also gains Spell Shield. That's massive. That's a huge keyword gain there, and a lot of people were just kind of overlooking that right away, but gaining Spell Shield is a massive thing, especially on a big unit like this, right? They Who Endure with Spell Shield with Shroud of Darkness is crazy, so very similar right here. A giant Nasus with Spell Shield is crazy. He also has a static effect that just enemies have -1 attack. So -1 power, all enemies. It's just a static effect. If he's on board, they have -1 attack. He's a 3/3 now, so stats go +1/+1. But again, he's going to be massively statted based on how many things you've slain. He's going to be 6 mana later in the game, but massive. Just like They Who Endure is 7 mana, but massive. He is an Ascended, which means he can get to level 3, just like Renekton can. So Nasus level 3 grows for this massive transformation, becomes absolutely huge. Still has Fearsome, still has Spell Shield, still has +1/+1 for each unit that you've slain this game, but he's now a base stats of 10/10. So if he was getting +8/+8, now he's an 18/18. So he gets massive, absolutely huge, and now his static effect of -1 power is now -3 power, which is game ending, right? If you're running a Fearsome build, you know, Renekton's ability when he's a level 3 is absurd, right? You're dealing damage on attack and defense, and just everyone's getting blasted. But Nasus is more, okay, I'm going to reduce my opponent's board by 3 across the board. That means things that don't have 6 attack can't even block me to start. Unless they buff their way into it. So that's huge. Nasus is ripped. He is very large, and I really like the Fearsome. There was a couple cards in previous reveals, particularly a 7-drop who is a 6/6, who when he attacks minuses the power of enemy units that had Fearsome. They were teasing a little bit of Fearsome synergy with Shadow Isles and with other, and also Noxus has some Fearsome units. They were teasing some Fearsome units here in Shurima, and then today they said, okay, you want the Fearsome units? Here they are. Nasus is leading that charge of Fearsome units, which I love. But we got more cards than that as well. We have his Siphoning Strike, which is a spell. It is Nasus' champion spell, also will be able to be slotted into your deck. It's a 5-cost slow spell. An ally strikes a unit, and then if that unit dies, you grant allied champions everywhere +2/+2. This can even strike your own unit. If Nasus just wants to kill a spider to your side if your opponent doesn't have anything, you could do that. It's obviously really expensive for 5 mana. Ideally, what this card's doing is for 5 mana at slow speed, which is probably the worst part about the card. You can attack an enemy unit with something that, even if you have a lifesteal unit, great. If not, you're just attacking it with something big that will slay that enemy unit, and then all of your champions will get +2/+2. Really interesting. So not only will your copies of Nasus get +2/+2, but all allied champions everywhere will get +2/+2. So if you create any more champions, if you have, running a deck with 3 different champions, they will all get +2/+2 stat buff. Combine that with the Allegiance unit in Shurima, and that's pretty interesting. The Allegiance unit will give you a +2/+2 on your champion as well. That's pretty bold. I really like what they're doing here. They have the Buried Sun Disc as well, which is obviously a focus on Shuriman champions, trying to get them to level 3. So there's a big focus here on champions in general. Now, this is removal, but at slow speed, it is pretty rough in that instance. But if you are playing a deck where you really want your champion to get big, and of course, giving Renekton +2/+2 is great, right? So, of course, we would want to smack something with Renekton, give him +2/+2 since he has Overwhelm printed. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I'm not sure how much play it'll see, but it's a very solid champion spell for Nasus. Very, very solid. So, I mean, as far as champion spells go, I think this is one of the better ones that we've seen so far this set. We have Rite of Calling, 0-cost spell. Kill an ally or destroy one of your mana gems to draw the champion. So 2 things here. First off, 0-cost draw a champion. Really solid. Second off, we had a few cards that were all about destroying your own mana gems, or if you have less mana gems than your opponent, you get X effect. So here's another way to destroy your own mana gems. I wrote about that in the Renekton review I did. I really like that mechanic because it gives a resource to your mana, to your resources, that isn't just, okay, I played my mana. Now you actually have to play a game of, is it worth it to sacrifice my turn 6 here with turn 6 mana, and then I have to repeat my turn 6, but I'll get some crazy effect like drawing my Nasus on curve, guaranteeing that. I think this card's pretty nasty. I think it has there's going to be different decks that are focused really heavy on champions. Yes, the Buried Sun Disc already draws champions for you, all of your Ascended champions, when it does pop off of its 25 countdown. But, I mean, 0-cost draw a champion by either sacrificing your own unit or a mana gem is very interesting. And if you were running something that floods the board with cheap things, a la Shadow Isles, Rite of Calling will just get you a champion for that. There's a lot of Shadow Isles things that I see jump out to me when I'm looking at these reveals, so that's why I'm bringing that up a lot. At 1 cost, we have the Bakai Reaper, who's really sweet. It's a fearsome unit, and it's a 1/2, but when you slay a unit, you grant him +1/+0. So this is a chump blocker that's going to grow consistently as more things die. So I kind of look at him like a Bark Beast in a way, whereas you play him on turn 1. If your turn 2 is then Keeper and Butcher to then kill that, now instead of having a 3/3 Bark Beast, you have a 2/2 fearsome unit, which is pretty sweet. But he also just has, the ability to get larger than 3/3. So if he's on the board early and can continue on the board for a while, if they don't have things to block him, he can eventually get up to 4, 5, which means he can trade up into really high costed things. So it's really interesting card here. On top of that, he goes into your fearsome mechanic like that really well, right? I mean, we already have fearsome printed on this unit. It's pretty solid. It's not like the Stingent Onlooker who has to be played in Nightfall to get fearsome, but this unit will just naturally have it printed and grow as the game goes on. So I'm pretty high on the Bakai Reaper. I think it's really solid. Ruinous Path is a very interesting card here as well. It's a 2-mana slow spell. It's draw a card for 1, draw 1 card, and if you've slain a unit this round, drain 2 from the enemy nexus. So essentially you get the Doom Beast effect, and you get to draw a card for 2 mana. Obviously you have the condition of you've had to have killed something this turn, whether that be in between combat, or if you're running, like I said, a deck where you are sacrificing your own things, like with a Rite of Calling, you should meet that condition pretty consistently, and then at slow speed, you'll get to draw a card and drain 2 from the enemy nexus. Now, Doom Beast is amazing on his own, because he provides a solid 3/2 body on top of draining 2 from the enemy nexus, which is really a 4 health swing if you're taking 2 away from them and adding 2 to you. Really powerful effect. We've seen how well Doom Beast did, and he got very slept on when that reveal happened. So I don't want to sleep on this card at the beginning. I think this is actually pretty competitive. Draw a card, refreshing your hand like that is very good, and a lot of times if this condition is just going to be met pretty easily, really solid, and then draining 2 is just that extra little bit of reach. If you're doing this at the back end of a turn anyway, just that extra little bit of reach into their nexus could be very solid. So this card excites the crap out of me, to be honest. Weighted Judgment's a really weird one. It's a 4-mana slow spell. It's deal 2 to a champion, or you get to deal 7 to a follower. Very weird card here. I mean, it's a slow speed removal card that can only target 1 unit, and it can do 2 to a champion, or blast a follower for 7. It's kind of interesting. So, if turn 3 comes and you've saved some mana, you need just 2 removal just to get that pesky, let's say, Zed or pesky Teemo off the board, or Zoe. You can do that with 2 damage. Or if you really later need 7 damage to a follower, you can do that. But slow speed really hurts this card. I'm riding pretty low on this one. I don't think Weighted Judgment's all that good. And there's not a whole lot to discuss other than it's kind of just a weird card. We have a Rampaging Bakai here, who is pretty nasty looking. I really like the art here. He's a 5-drop 4/6. He has a skill play effect. If you've slain 4+ units this game, you essentially single combat with this unit and an enemy. So an enemy and him strike each other. And he's a 4/6 at 5 cost, which is pretty decent stats, and he has Overwhelm naturally. Overwhelm with only 4 attack isn't the most appealing thing, but he comes down single combating something, and you can target even champions. It's pretty dang solid. Obviously, you have to meet the condition of slaying 4 different units, but if you do meet that condition, super worth it. So, I mean, if you're playing a Undying like Shadow Isles deck where you are killing your own units or anything like that, you're probably going to have 4 things slain by turn 5, and he comes down and gets a single combat off. It's really great. Now, the key point is he strikes the enemy, but they strike him back. This isn't just he gets to just kill an enemy. The reason there is he does have 6 health, so he can survive pretty well. So if you're just striking one of their champions off the board or one of their back line pieces, right? And Aphelios isn't a great example. A Twisted Fate's a great example. Anything like that is a really solid example. He can still get the kill there, but take a little bit of damage back. But that's pretty worth it, right? Even if he comes out of that as like a 4/3 with Overwhelm, but he got rid of an important piece, really solid. I think this card's actually incredible. Siphoning Strike we went over up here. That is Nasus's spell, so this is just showing it'll be a rare card here and will be main deckable, which is sweet. Spirit Fire is weird. 7 cost burst spell. Give enemies -2 and round end deal 2 to me this round. So you are essentially setting all the opponents on fire. They get -2 attack, so they can't trade efficiently, and they might not even be able to block your fearsome units, which is awesome. And on top of that, at the end of the turn, they're going to take 2 damage. So it's kind of like an avalanche just for your opponent's board. And it happens at burst speed, so you can be in combat, boom, 7 mana. All of a sudden, all of their units lost 2 attack. You trade extremely efficiently, right? It's almost like you partially froze their entire board. You trade very efficiently, and then if any do survive, they also take 2 damage at the end of that turn. Problem here is 7 mana. 7 mana is a high ask, very, very high ask, so I'm not 100% sure this is going to see play. I really like the flavor of the card. I really like the ability to lower their attack so you can attack, but even if you don't do that, you can still just try to use it as a kind of a removal card. So it's got a little bit of both going on, and it's intriguing. I'll say that. I'm not sure the competitive viability of that spell. I think I'm more on Ruinous Path here as more competitive than Spirit Fire. But Spirit Fire is pretty cool. I'll give it that. I could definitely find a couple decks I could see it trying to be used in. Sanctum Conservator is one of my favorite cards in this release here. I am beyond excited. And this is one of the first art pieces they teased a long time ago. This thing is sick. He is an 8-drop, 8/5. He has Fearsome printed, which is great. He has a play skill, just like the Rampaging Pakai. He has play skill. So if you play him and you have slain 13 plus units this game, you kill all enemy followers. Okay, and then you summon an additional Sanctum Conservator. You summon a copy of the Sanctum Conservator. So if it gets to turn 8, 9, 10, and you've slain 13 plus things, which isn't all that impossible if you're using things like Chronicler of Ruin. I'm speaking to this in the Undying aspect because we don't see a whole lot of self-slaying things here. And I think that's the key to actually getting to 13 plus. We do see ways to slay things in general with Rite of Calling for the self-slay there. We have the Siphoning Strike, which is strike something else, which could be a slay. We also have Rampaging Bakai, which is great. But we don't see a whole lot of getting up to really high numbers there. So I'm pairing it with Shadow Isles in my mind already because things like Chronicler of Ruin, the Butcher, things like that to trigger your Last Breath effects and actually slay units productively using your bodies as resources is really good. If you've slain 13 plus things and you play this, a skill goes on to the middle of into the queue. If that gets denied, you just have an 8/5 with Fearsome. If that skill goes through, you kill all enemy followers. That's Celestials that don't have Spell Shield. That's, I mean, massive, right? That's literally all of their followers, all of their Yetis, all of their blockers. Anything that's not a champion. It's a little bit kind of like She Who Wanders, right? She would obliterate all units in your hand and on board that have less than 4 power. That's very similar. It just blows up all of just the enemy's followers. Top of that, you get a second 8/5 with Fearsome. Card's crazy. I'm excited. I'm extremely excited. Guys, if you haven't noticed yet, what I'm putting this into first is Undying. I'm going to make a very heavy Shadow Isles deck using Nasus, but previously I ran Undying without any champions. I'm going to try it with Nasus for sure. I'm going to run Bakai Reaper over Bark Beast at different points. They have access in Shurima with to vulnerable. I mean, you have a lot of quick burst speed vulnerable things that came out with the Renekton package, so I'm extremely excited to try all those things, and I'm just beyond excited to use this Sanctum Conservator as my late game bomb to finish off games like that. I think that's incredibly fun, and all of this stuff is beyond hyped. I know some people were a little let down looking at Nasus at the very first instinct, which I understand he's a little bit weird. He can be a little bit underwhelming only seeing these cards, but immediately putting him with Shadow Isles in my head seems amazing, but also just putting him with Renekton seems really solid as well. Hopefully we get a few more options for self-killing in Shurima, and then I could see this deck really starting to come together. Guys, if you liked the video, please leave a subscription for us, leave a comment, tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, what we can do better. Leave a like, and we'll keep making content. Thanks, guys, for staying around. Peace.